Because obviously, I think every pitcher hits some sort of summer skid, so to speak. It does feel like, though, this funk has lasted for a while.
It almost feels like the opening day start against the Mets has kind of hurt his mental game a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, giving up 5 runs against the Mets, unable to make it out of the first inning in an opening day start after you were mowing down hitters in the World Baseball Classic.
Right.
That was kind of a shock to your system. And I know he had a very good April to follow it up, but ever since the month of April, something has been off about him. And I was telling you this yesterday. His last scoreless outing was May 12th. And I mean, we're coming up on 3 months ago.
Right.
That is just absolutely absurd for a guy in Paul Skenes that it almost felt like every 5 days he was going to give you a scoreless outing or maybe give up 1 or 2 runs.
Right.
It's 3.96 ERA, 1.12 whip. I mean, both of those are the worst that he's had in his 3-year MLB career. The 6.25 ERA in July, allowing 22 earned runs, that is a major concern to me. I mean, we're talking about a guy that came out of LSU, and the second he got called up to the major leagues was an immediate impact for the team.
Right. Right.
What almost concerns me more, though, is the fact that he has not thrown over 100 miles an hour this entire season. I mean, coming out of college, if you take a look at the scouting grades, and we talked more about the scouting grades around the draft and everything.
Right.
80 is the highest it can get. They project you to have Hall of Fame caliber stuff at that position. His fastball was graded as an 80.
Wow.
Coming out of college, because it was at 102, and he was basically sitting at 102 with a ton of movement. I mean, he's basically lost his best pitch. The pitch that's potentially going to get him in the Hall of Fame. He's lost it this year. And I don't know if it's fatigue, because he says that he's fine. He says that he's not injured.
Right.
So it almost leads me back to, is he truly fatigued from something? And what could that possibly be? And the first thing that you go ahead and take a look at is, what did he do before the season?
He pitched in the World Baseball Classic.
Oh, he played in the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah.
And he struck out 16 guys and only allowed 1 earned run in 2 starts.
We have seen, I think there's almost every year, and I hope that that the guy that won the home run derby this year, Jordan Walker, I couldn't think of his last name for a second. He doesn't have this, but there always seems to be a guy that slumps with his bat if he does the home run derby for whatever reason. Just there always seems to be that slump. Pete Crow Armstrong was that guy last year. I wonder if this is the same thing the opposite way, except it happens at the beginning of the season. Pitched in the World Baseball Classic, and now his body's aged a little bit more than everybody else so far. It does stand to reason that this is the first year he's done the WBC, and then he's having this dip in numbers.
It almost feels like, hey, should Pittsburgh just skip a start for him? But they can't really afford it because they're only 4.5 games out of the wild card spot right now. However, if you take a look at his recent starts, I mean, this year I think he's 9-10 in the wins-loss. And I know wins and losses is hardly ever a pitcher's step.
Especially for that team.
Jacob deGrom had a 1.7 ERA and had a losing record and still won the Cy Young. And that was probably one of the greatest pitching seasons of all time. However, it almost does beg the question, should they just do it anyways? Or should they just get through this season and maybe reevaluate in the offseason? Hey, what's going on here? What did we do wrong this season? How can we impact this moving forward? Because I know I'm sitting in this chair, but I think anyone could tell you Paul Skenes isn't Paul Skenes without his 100+ mile an hour fastball. Because if you could take away his best pitch because he's not throwing it really anymore, and you could sit on something else, I think that's why hitters are having success. They're starting to figure him out.
Yeah.
Once he gets the velocity back, then I think you're going to see the ERA come back down.
Yeah.
But the fact that he hasn't thrown over 100 miles an hour this entire season is a little bit concerning to me in an age where all we care about is how fast these pitchers are throwing the baseball.
Yeah, obviously the velo has dipped. Shout out to our interns, though. They always do great work, and they did provide us with a quote from Paul Skenes. I want you to listen and see if you agree with what he says. Quote, "I think it's funny that reporters only ask about velocity when I don't have a good outing.
Ooh.
I think it's the first time in my career my velo has kind of dipped." He used the word kind of. I'm not using kind of. That's what he used.
Whoa.
"But it's not something I'm stressed over at all. I don't think velocity is something I need to pitch well." And I think a lot of people were saying that is your superpower. is that he's saying he could do well without it.
I can do it all.
And not only, I think he thinks that he's a better pitcher even without the velo, but he's not even concerned about the velocity in and of itself. That's from Paul Skenes. I think he told some reporters this.
Yeah.
I do find it interesting that that's how he thinks of himself. And maybe he's just saying this.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just saying this to boost confidence in himself.
Right. I was
he's
about
trying
to say,
to convince
it's almost
himself.
like a little bit of propaganda for himself.
Right.
So.
And like getting into his own head. But it does sound like, Patrick, that you think that, hey, you need to have this in order to be the guy that's, capable of winning Cy Young and getting his team to the next level.
It's like you take away someone's best attribute and part of the reason why they got to the major leagues and expect them to use their B stuff to try to get you out. It's just never going to happen. Like, major league hitters are good enough to be able to figure you out.
Right.
And I mean, I do hate to say it because I think part of it is him trying to continuously tell himself, like, hey, I don't need to throw 102 miles an hour to have success in this league. But I almost feel like that's part of what made Paul Skenes.
Right.
I mean, you look at Jacob Mizorowski, he throws 105, and hitters just cannot hit that at all right
now. He's on a different level.
If the Miz didn't throw 100 miles an hour, I think it'd be a lot easier to hit.
Right.
It's just, coming from a former baseball guy myself, I don't usually like to throw my input in on things because these guys obviously made it further in their careers than I ever did. It's just, I feel like it's a little bit crazy to think, oh, just because his velo is down doesn't mean like he's going to have a drop off.
Right.
If that's your main thing, if that's your number one go-to pitch, and part of the reason why you got there, it's hard to believe that if that thing goes away, that hitters aren't going to figure out. They're just too smart in today's world.
Yeah.